Yes, yes. Peace and blessings. Today I'm kind of proud of myself. I accomplished something to me. And what I accomplished was set out just by me on a personal journey. This journey is called The Lost Books of the Egyptians, so that I won't bore you real quick getting to the point. So why the Lost Books of the Egyptians? That's the whole concept now. You see, when this spirit came down on me, to keep it simple, it was a reptilian. And I remember, go back to my videos, you'll see me repping Draco and Reptilian Eye. All that stuff is 100% real, but it's in another parallel world with it reflecting upon my body. When I walk, you see reflections of it, not just in there. I do actual DNA activation myself, different meditations now. I'm into yoga. Everything is different. My life done changed since then. If you go back to like me a year ago, especially my first video, you see the screen is shaking and flashing. The one when I'm sitting down on my balcony just talking about, I think it was summoning the ancestors and all that stuff. And I was going through the actual alchemy back then, So with all that took place, it also gave me instructions. I told you about the instructions in prior videos, about abstinence and, the aesthetic life and all that stuff. It's not permanent. It's only temporary till you get it. It's like you reprogramming yourself from being a program. We all computers. We just don't realize it. So you got to program yourself to how you see fit. So with this now, reptilian coming down on me, it brought the information about the Egyptians, just because it's all Egyptian. Everything is Egyptian. My Egyptian experiences just got real. I didn't know nothing about Egypt or know anything about anything. I wasn't even interested in it. I know black studies. I was a Moor. Last I was a Moor. And so as a Moor, I know law. I'm very, very good in law. I could get your case reversed. Trust me, I'll reopen back your appeal for you, even if you signed a plea agreement. I know all that stuff. I'm very, very prevalent in law because of my Moor learning. And with the Moors, I also learned how to be like the religious side, because with Moors you got two sides to it. You got the people whose name has Al, like A-L. You got L-E-L, and you got Bay, and I think it's another one, Day or whatever. I'm not really into it no more. That was a long time ago, but I'm just bringing up some points, like, key points in my life that help me have greater understanding of what's going on. So, but being the Moor and taking up the last name of L, you also have to know the religion side of it, not just the law. So I was like part of the Moors Round Table for a quick minute, got up there into the mystical side of everything instantly. When I say instantly, when I was observed by someone, they just said, yo, you need to join. 2, I went to the first meeting, boom, I went to the elite side. 3, went to the first elite meeting, I was like the spokesperson. I knew everything. I just was talking. So they was like, yo, how he get up here? How did this happen? They was like, yo, leave him alone. Let him be. From there, I just did my own order. Moore's order, what was it? The order of the ancient ones. Somehow, I don't think that's original, because my thoughts was original when I thought of it, but come to find out in research later, somebody already had that, and it was a Moor lady too. She's very good. Peace out to the order of the ancient one lady. Trust me, I'm not too good at remembering all that stuff, and that's what's the good part about me. I don't have all that stuff stored in me because I didn't really research none of this. I remember passing and browsing the information. That's why I know. So that don't mean that anybody copied from anybody, but sometimes you got one spirit working amongst a lot of people to accomplish one goal, one agenda. And so this now will come into you like it come into everybody. Like I tell you, all my spiritual information I pass on metaphysical stuff, it's in you too. It's just like a lot of us don't tune in, so I try to verify by saying, no, what my mind is your mind. What I hear and see is what you hear and see. We don't see nothing different because it's all one God. It's only one source. So if we all believe in the same inner soul thing, then it's only one projector of it, and we lift it at that. So that's how we come to our conclusion of the source, the one, the absolute, anything of that sort you want to call it, Allah. But now when you get into the physical basis of it, now when we start taking the stories literal, that's where you see our balancing of the scale get a little bit off, because we come out balanced. But when that doctor slap you, you split. You coming from peace, love, and happiness, and the motherfucker slap the shit out of you, the first thing happened is you split. Split personality occurred when the doctor slaps you. And now you in this world. Not because you was here. If you would have been just not slapped or whatever, you have a more imaginative, creative point of view, more on the feminine principle side of your hemisphere, your brain. But once the doctor do slap you, automatically you go into self-defense. You in a world you don't know. Everybody looks strange to you like creatures and dragons, and you've been already assaulted. So this is how you come in and your first split start to take place. Then, you know, I'm not going to go into the splits and everything because that's not the topic right now, but I just want you to understand we're not who we think we are, and don't say that there's no splits in your personality. I just told you about the first one. So now, what was we discussing for a minute there? Because I'm so on the straight path that it takes so many curves and turns that it's unbelievable. The books of the Egyptians would lead us back to where I was at in the reference of everything. Well, with all this knowledge that we get and it's passed down, aside from them telling me about, you know, don't engage in certain activities and abstinence, like I was saying, the fact is, they tell you with Egypt coming in influence, I told you, I saw pictures on Facebook and images of sun discs and portals that just seemed so familiar to me that I knew what they was. And I started just telling everybody what it is, and I had a great idea or understanding of it. But guess what? The deeper part is I had the action to the cause built inside of me. Meaning, throw me in the driver's seat and I knew how to drive it. That's crazy. It's built into us. I'll give you a great example. I remember when DJing and mixing and scratching first came out. And if any of my friends know me from back in that days, I remember I went to the first party. I always watched. I was the kid to go to the parties and see everything and observe. But I also was a DJ, you know, on like maybe your mother's turntable. Always had one in the house trying to DJ and scratch. So it's not a matter of scratching, you understand? It's a matter of all around DJing. So now I get to my friend's party and they're like, yo, go DJ, go DJ. Here I am now. Don't know what the mixer do, how to work it. And there's two turntables on each side with the mixer in the middle. All of a sudden, when I put that first record on in that turntable, I didn't go just to play a record, right? Where you just listen to the record and they mix it with the other record. Nah. I took two of the same record that just had a break beat at the beginning, which I remember was Big Beat. I think it's by Billy Squire, and it comes on, it starts off with just the drum. It'd be like boom, ba-bap, boom, boom, bap, boom, ba-bap, boom, boom, bap, and then it just starts a song from there. And from there it starts a song. So for you to be able to understand what I'm trying to get at here, is you only have maybe that 8 seconds to do whatever you're going to do to make it repeat. We didn't have samplers then, or we didn't have the drum machine that could tap the boom, ba-bap, boom, boom out for you. So the whole thing now, you just jumped into the river because you're going to have to keep that going on those two turntables somehow. But for you that never experienced it or even know the concept of what you're doing, how do you do that? So all of a sudden now the first one comes on and I put it on and it plays. All of a sudden I see myself scratching on the other one and sliding the slider over and bringing it. Know to grab the other one, bring it back, cue it up in my headphones and keep that just little part going. So good that I wasn't doing it in 8s, I was doing it in 4s. So my point is, you have built-in instincts in you that came with your God time, your period. Whether it be from dancing to now, singing to now, the music to now. If you realize every generation that comes, the music changes, the culture change take place, and the clothing line change. This is what we do as new gods come in. Not saying your kids, your parents, you. You're the cultural setters. You were the guys that made this frequency shift just a little bit by 30 degrees. So this is what you have to understand, that you're the creator of these new events that you're currently existing in. Your kids will be the creators of the one they're going to be existing in. It's not there's a future. Your future is now. You created it when you was a child, in your teenage years especially. It was actually what you was in, or what was in was what you desired or preferred. And society built off of what you said was right. So you got to understand how it's done. So back to the books. You see how I be doing? I be going all over, man, but I have to sometimes. It's the truth of reality. Now back to the books. With us getting this, me getting the spirits and everything, and the instructions that I'm telling you came through the soul, it also told me with the Egyptians that there is some books, there is some truth that we don't have in our society, and that we're brainwashed, and we have to be unbrainwashed. And I'm like, huh? And this is because the orb I started getting in my eye, I started getting this orb in my eye. And this orb, I couldn't get rid of it. I used to make it go away. Oh my God. Like when I would lay in my bed on my pillow, everything would just start spinning into microscopic little elements. And I couldn't get rid of it. When I closed my eyes, it made it worse. It was like it was right in my face, and it was like the star, those pulsing stars. And I could see it changing into different people every time it pulses, and it's just in my eyes. It's like an indigo purple flicker, and I couldn't get rid of it for maybe 2 months. And when I have my eyes open, it's like I have a spider over my eyes, just like some big center thing that you can see through, but it had like arms like that or something. And I guess that's the orb, because every time I think or would concentrate or just be chilling and zone out, it just start doing this thing. So that's how everything for me just started like changing. Like this world will warp, and I could go into a whole nother world. But it was through that orb that the Egyptians, where you see them holding the lily flower, that was what it meant. So now with this going on, I understood that, all right, what we see is not 100% accurate, because I was being haunted, seeing these dragons, seeing these images just appearing. It was like there's this face that was always there, and these eyes that was always there. If you ever see my Facebook pictures of the clouds, it's always an eye there. Well, that eye don't be just there. It be in my walls. It be in my friends' walls. Everybody have strange paranormal things when they fuck with me. So all of this now made me understand what was going on. You understand? It was universal. It was God. It was his calling, but it was just for the chosen, like some Enoch shit. So now with all this, I realized that we're being misled or blinded. And it wasn't just because of our perception of how we saw the world. Look at the world as like, let me see if I could use this to show you. You can look at the big clouds, or you see the white part, or you can look at it from the black part where it looked like some antennas or something in here. Whichever one you want to look at. Some people look at the dark, some people look at the light. And they'll see mountain, like if this was a mountain now, you see it, and this is the sky, and this will be the terrain, and you would be driving through here straight through. So it all depends on your perception of how you see it. So now, with them controlling you through programming of the TV, it's also giving you the perception of what you consider reality by them telling you what reality is. But you can see this world from a different perspective if you was looking at the different hues or different contrasts to make it seem an offshoot. It's like you offshoot to a parallel of the original. So with that in mind now, it started me on a quest like, oh, so with the mental implants and our perception being like pushed on to us of how to see, that's like through school, education, our parents, college, and then work. It's the same thing like the movie The Matrix. And, you see Neo in the beginning after he's at work, just trying to work, be Neo. Or not even Neo, what's his name? Thomas Anderson. Thomas is Thomas Diddy, the Doubting Thomas. And he's also have a twin. So that's Neo, his twin. Now his last name Anderson, you got Ander, which is a man, and son man, son, or son of man. So what you're seeing is a version of Jesus that they're trying to play it out as Thomas Anderson, who becomes Neo. That's when he's the Christ now or whatever. And remember, after he becomes Neo, that's not his ultimate position. His ultimate position is to be the one. So later now he becomes the one, which is God. That's what the movie's trying to tell you. It's about you, but you don't get it. It's from the heart. Everything he had to learn through his heart chakra by learning to face his fears. And you got that other dude that looked like the clone or the robot. I forgot his name. Y'all know the name. Well, he represents the dead people, the people that's unconscious, the sleeping people that's trying to keep him from ascending. So that's the story of that, and that's actual in reality. We just can't see it because we're so calcified in this world, in this material world. And the reason is because we're behind European dictatorship. European everything. If you look at your TV, everything is European and based. But the problem is that everything didn't start in European based. Europe itself is young. So it's like American history. If you go off American history, how far you could go back before you run out of history, but you still existed. Maybe in this body you're in, but you existed as a soul in a different body. So you're talking about American history, you're talking about a very, very short history you cannot dictate yourself to. Because you lived longer than that in Africa and in Asia and in India and in Germany and in Britain, or everybody's from different parts of the world that came to America. And even after, not just America, when civilization was captured and re-civilized, remember, they took the bodies of the people from one country and put them in another country. There was no such thing as anybody in the country they captured that stood there, and they just gave them a creed and told them no. The old-fashioned way, if you read in the book of Hosea or whatever, Kings, as a matter of fact, it's in Kings, that when the king captured the people, they took them to another land. That's how you do it, and switch the people. So nobody of people today could say they're from that land that they inhabiting right now, because if you know the laws of the Persians, the Babylonians, the Canaanites, for the record, the Canaanites is really the Kemetites, because that's Kemet, and they just word it as Canaan. Think about it. You understand? Everything back then was K, and that's what the K only was. It was no C. That came later on. So what's the other one? Y'all know them. I just don't want to waste my time trying to figure all that out. Hello, how you doing? So I'm trying to stay focused. So now with all of those, you get to understand that these people have a way of redoing this whole system over that it confuses you, and you don't have a full perception of what reality is. And so instead of you understanding from the law and the books, they take out key points in the books to make sure that you don't understand and make y'all have disagreements and war, because it's inconclusive. There's only one truth, like mathematics. There's no probability unless you get into quantum physics. So obviously the book is about quantum physics. It's that simple. And if you could understand the quantum physics world, which is the astral world, you understand that book is simple. You understand? Now, to make this come around, when they deceive us and they make us see how they want us to see through these mental implants, what they did was they had us now, they took a war where it was like they took all the knowledge. It's not nothing that you don't know. It's like you see all the destruction of the temples when Alexander took over. You got Napoleon come over to Egypt. Everybody was doing a certain cause. It wasn't for no particular, like they're taking over the country. They had to get rid of a genetic strand of people called the Kundalini, which would have been any indigenous people to a body of land. You see, when you tie to a body of land, this is in Numbers 2, every ancestor have an ancestral spirit that governed them, and when you finish growing at age 33, you start evolving mentally, and after you reach a mental level, now you evolve spiritually. And if you was on your environment you was originally from, which you have a genetic tie to, it will activate your Kundalini, which was like that, the snake that they're talking about, the Shakti energy. So being that they know that, they took you from being grounded. Once you was grounded by switching you to another land, they realized from the Salem witch situations and all the people that was actually going against the kings and everything, not just in America, not just in Africa with the Orisha and the Voodoo, but all over. It's happening in England too with the King Henry and Queen Elizabeth. They caught on and started just switching the people off of them, ungrounding them. And so America was sort of and built as a safe haven where the people is ungrounded. Everybody there is from different parts of the world. So when you say like black people was in slavery and they came here, it wasn't because they was in slavery and they came here. They was displacing them on purpose for them to keep evolving, because in the whole process they can't tell you the truth. They're only going to tell you what the public needs to know. And that's where you have two sets of records, the real records and the shadow records. You got to be able to go into the Akashic records to understand what they've been doing is stopping God. And that's why you have races of people that's oppressed, third world countries, because they still is connected. So they disconnect them from the ones who's asleep. But they have only certain people trickle down consciousness into the sleeping ones to wake them up. So this is a system. That's why the elite separate themselves. They learned a lot of stuff is going on in space, especially today. And since 2012, they cut space off. You can't see space live no more. All of this is not no coincidence. There's things going on here that we don't know, and we assume, and they make us believe. But you have to wake yourself up, and you have to research, read old books. Look at it like you're a new soul that just came today and awoken today. You can't know nothing today. You have to go back to the beginning and come forward. It took me about 2 years to learn what I needed to learn, to stand on my foundation, and it can't crumble. But you have to be able to stand on yours and know your science. It's like when you learn in law, you get a lawyer because you don't know. You're ignorant to the law, but you don't need a lawyer. It's like it tell you in the Constitution you have the right to have, what is it? An attorney or whatever, but it doesn't say a bar-associated attorney. You understand? And how they got you is with the Bar Association. Anybody could be a attorney as long as they practice within the right of the state that they're in law. But I'm not no person to give you no law advice. My whole point is that we is ignorant to who we are, what we're here to do. We let people tell us what to do and we believe it. We just want to be controlled. We love to take commands and information, because we're a computer and don't realize it, but you need to program yourself and get your consciousness out of that computer state. So back to the books. Now these books, right, this is how they deceived us and pulled everything out, because those books that they was burning down the place for and stealing when they found this stuff, they kept it a secret and they used it against us. That's where they dumbed it down and made religion. They made education. They made every system of government that we go to, medicine. But it was a dumbed down version in the books of actually how to heal, self-heal. They took out stuff about like the Messiah and using your macabre and temple science of the Knights Templars on how the body worked, how to do mysticism, and they call that heresy. The original people was the Indian or Indigo people that walked the earth as the Chaldeans. They had this higher form of information that was passed on to them. So they brought it to us as far as our master teachers. And what it was a genetic connection. They taught you how to activate your genes to ascend yourself, to get to a new vibratory frequency through your heart. And so with that, the government made sure they closed our heart chakra, because you got a nigga, excuse my language, you got a God or Lord. I call him me, myself, because that's my name, Lord Enki, that is here overshadowing everything. He's the master because he's from Draco, Pleiades, and Orion in his genetics, and that's our genetics. That's what we're made of. So every time they try to drop us unconscious, he tweaks us. He keep on hooking us up and raising our heart rate. He changes the frequency of the sun. He's like our master self-defense chess move master, setting everything up for us. Then he'll drop off a master teacher. So it's like you got a Doldabaroth who made your body and is using you for energy. But then you got Enki, who made your soul, or what we call the Most High, Osiris, and the hidden Most High, which is Draco, the dragon. You know, the dragon is well known. You know, it's the destroyer. They call it the destroyer. And when it's time for, like, the flood of Moses, and we evolve to a certain level of understanding, God opens up the gates and sends a destroyer and destroys everything, and only a few people survive, and then restarts all over again. This is a fact. You understand? This is Egyptian knowledge. This is not in your regular books, so you ain't gonna find it, but that's where you get your APEP. The destruction, the last destruction in the flood that they're talking about, that they trying to make it seem recent, is the destruction of Tiamat. That's what you're reading about. That's when it actually happened. But it's all magic. You see, for us to be existing, like I told you before, God had to commit suicide or kill himself. It's a sacrifice. This is a magical ass place. That's why you have fairies, trolls. And so with that, you hear the story of his son. He sacrificed his son. And what happened? His son reborn. So it's the same thing. For the earth to exist, he had to sacrifice the earth. So there was two earths. You understand? The first earth was Tiamat, and he sacrificed that one by giving it to the dragon. The dragon destroyed it, and earth was born. This earth, the one that festered the environment for us to be in. That's the true story. That's in Egyptian scrolls. But what they're telling us is some other crazy fable to make themselves look as the governing body, as the God, the superior. You understand? But you realize God is a title. It's not an actual name. And if you have imagination, it's going to throw you off. Look at it like TV. If they programming you with TV and making you imagine something to throw you off, so imagine your imagination throwing you off. It's all about your mind. It's what they trying to control that, and they control everything. Once they don't control your mind, you're powerful. You realize you're God, and this is a joke here. Everything is not real. But you have to free yourself up out of your situation of being financially in a situation where you have to worry about every 30 days paying your bills. If you have to worry about things like that, you ain't going to have enough space for you to ascend and see beyond the matrix, because you have to survive. The basic things that the ego or the human person need first is survival, number one. That's his main objective. His ego is going to go out, his subconscious is going to go out, his soul is going to go out just for survival. Then after that, he's going to seek love. And after he seeks love, he's going to seek social unity, or try to do something in society through socialism. And so with those three qualities, if you could ascend those, you can start your God self now, because those is the basic principle of your psychology that make you act in certain ways. And so Master Thyself will teach you that about yourself, and you learn how to grasp it through meditation. We those Panjaliya yoga to grasp your mind and to teach you how to grasp everything. So it's like all this I'm telling you now is what I'm working on to help y'all in books, videos. These are future concepts. You know, y'all could get down with me. Y'all like what I'm saying, hit me up and tell me you want to invest into it, because it takes a lot of time, a lot of research, and then retweaking it back out so it makes sense universally. It don't have to go to India and look at the fake Indian pictures and the fake lotus things. You know, I read in history, they still don't understand why the lotus, they chose that. And it don't make no sense when you could make people understand what they're saying, because we need it. It's the Merkaba, it's your chakra. And if you don't know it, and it's a medical science, why put it in a symbol that make it only for secret people to understand who don't have the key, and then you hide the keys in other books. And so back to this, that it's the lost keys of the Egyptians, because that's the point. I mean, the lost books of the Egyptians. You know, when you finish and society got destroyed, everybody has been reprogrammed. They only had the high priestesses and all of them that kept the knowledge. These high priestesses was all the different cultivators of civilization. And upon them doing that, what they wind up doing now is leaving us in a dumbed down version of the story, so we actually think or believe, and just put us in a state of happiness, comfort through offering us protection, voting, everything else, and we living as what we call democratic or Republican type state. and don't realize it's really too much freedom kills your personality and your ego. You know, the totalitarian way is more of a correct way. You would say Egypt was a totalitarian place because it was one mind, one thing. Everybody know for everything there was a cause to an effect. We don't care about cause and effect in this world, and that's why we suffering. We're possessed, we're on pills, we don't have anxiety. We broke our own laws of our Merkaba. Well, they learned all this through the Egyptian books, and they wind up now passing it on to all the fathers and all the saints. You can read about it if you want. If you want to exactly, go to the Clementine homilies, and you see it in the Epistle of James, or just the beginning one. It's all about a secret book that they don't want nobody to know, and it's not the Bible. So what's the secret book that they're talking about? And what happened with society? Why that if we didn't have the secret book, we wouldn't be able to raise our consciousness. And that's a fact, because now that I found the secret book, I'm like, wow, the information is unbelievable. So to make this short and simple, because this is getting long and I'm stretching out the facts of the secret book, is that now you come to realize it's all that was the Phoenicians who had the access to the book. And it was called the Book of Creation or the Book of Life. I forgot the exact name of it. I'm a pass it on, trust me. And the Phoenicians got it from the Egyptian when the diaspora happened, and they were selling it as trade for a long time when they was going back and forth to Britain and Africa and all these places. So everybody knew that as the real Bible. And then later on, they wind up having the wars where King Henry and Elizabeth and them and Ferdinand took over. They now made up their own Bible. He took that book and he warred out with the Celtics and the Druids and the Scythians, because they had those knowledge then, and they wind up now pushing them off the land, excommunicating the book, burning all their stuff, called them what's called pagan worshippers, and then they took the books and rewrote it in what's called the Bible. That's why King James, it has the official authorized version, because he took the real book and he fucked it all up, remixed until you hear. Use my lie as the real one, and it's all bullshit. And so we go, yo, King James, who ain't shit to us, was oppressing us and charging us tax and took our ancestors' land. Picture yourself back when King James was around. You was an Indian or some indigenous soul back then. You wasn't part of that line. I don't care what color you think you are, because like I told you, colors on the external of your skin. It's what's inside of you. So if you're going around judging the color of your skin, you will see blacks that is really whites and whites that's really blacks, right in your face, in families. So I'm just keeping that in mind before you start misinterpreting what I'm talking about with tyranny and evilness and bad people that's here to destroy you and hold your soul in hostage, compared to what you're here supposed to do, that you only could acquire through pain and suffering and adversity. You understand? And people think pain, adversity, and suffering is bad, but it's really good. Whoever giving you riches and all that other stuff is man-made things. They're making a situation to trick you. So you can't fall for the trick they're making, it because it's showing what your impulses and your desire lie. And if it lie in there, it's not with God. You understand what I'm saying? And he's observing everything, believe it or not. I'm keeping it simple now, because by now I already know who I am and I understand what's going on. I don't have to sugarcoat nothing. I don't know why, but it is, it is. So now that the book has been found, I feel so much better. And as I get into it, because everything been this distraction now, it's like since I got the book, it's like everybody is just hitting me as soon as I go grab it or think of getting it. So I have to wait now and sort it out. But I do make sure I'm correct, because in the beginning of the book, it tell you this book was written by the Egyptians and they kept it a secret, and how when this happened, they painted it on bronze scrolls, and it's been around since the Canaanites, the Phoenicians, they all had these books. And so it's broken into, they just made it one complete book, and it's called the Bible. So just stay tuned for a minute and let me read it and see it. But I accomplished what I had to accomplish. I told you there's the lost books. It's all the information in the Meta Nature that everybody saying was untranslated. I know it's translated. You can look at the works of Athena's Ketcher, and especially in Subterraneous, Mundo Subterraneous. You don't have to even Google that. Just Google Athena's Ketcher, then put in all his images, and you just see all Egyptian stuff. These people been decoding it, using it. It's what is used against us now, and you could use it for yourself. It's nature. The laws that came with when you came in your Macabre, and the laws of going past, present, future, deep stuff. I'm not here to impress you or make you more enthused to do something for wrong reason. You got to do it because you want to do it, because it's who you are. We all have the same journey and the same goal. But those books is what will tell you we've been deceived. Everything has been hidden. You know, with that, I realized that why they keep hiding everything from people, why society destroys the other generations' information or research, everything, genealogy, when they come into power or whatever, and you realize every time that they have to hide, they have something to hide. And every time that they do that, we get more unconscious, you know? I also wanted to say, every time we get races, we have races, it's bugged out. This is all in research, and I realize that diversity has to be done through certain genetic lines. This is how you get your root race, your sub races, and everything. So you got two people that's black or whatever, you know, they have sex, they have kids. You got to be careful because that's inbreeding still, and it weakens your genetic line. So, you know, the diversity of root races start off as that, and it makes 7 sub races. 7 sub races start off a new root race. And we're at the 7th strand of the root race now, of the sub-root race. No, the 6th strand of the sub-root race to start the 7th strand root race now, which is us. We're the 7th strand, and believe it or not, we can't tie ourselves too much to anything because we're mixed up. From aliens to creatures to white, black, Portuguese, Indian, Chinese, Malaysian, Chinese, everything is in you, everything. That's how you get to where you at today. So don't think that you're one. Look at your color, you change and all this shit. There's different aspects of you. And I want to teach you about all that later, because how all of this comes around is like you go through past life regressions, and you've seen your past life regressions who you was. And so you're not this yourself now. All of those past you is in your aura, as reflective aura that pushes on your skin to make up your color, your reflection, your pores, your densities of hues that make you up. That's how it comes about. It's all you. It's like these, you see, if you look from the whitest part of the cloud between and then how it goes down, you see the shade, how it's lighter. That would be, you would consider all your different lives coming down and make up this thick cloud right here. It will be these shades. So that's how it works as far as that. But that's a whole nother science that I'm gonna have to master and teach. You know, this is where I was telling you now, with all the sub races, when you get to each new one, the earth has to destroy itself to create another continent. For every continent, there's a race that get a body of land with it. The earth is a chakra of a 13 chakra system that they tell you it's only 12 planets, but it's 13. And so everything is as above, so below. So when every time we have a seventh race evolve, we have a desolation and a new continent pops back up. That's why it's going to happen, where Atlantis is going to pop back up and a lot of things, because we're at that level now. So I just want you to understand how it works. And every time when we started off at 1, when we had Pangea, or the first one on Tiamat, that was 1 root race. And then as 2 root race came, the first sub-7 came, the earth got destroyed again. That's why we have epochs. The epochs matches up to that same science of how many epochs we had, which separated at one point the moon from the earth. You understand? The Egyptians have all that science. Everything I'm telling you is true. So I want y'all to have a good day. University of Conscious Science. One love.